Minecraft flowers. They are something we can easily take for granted in a world full of mysterious mobs and dimensions. But like anything, they are rich in history in and out of the game. As of 1.19, there are 17 different types of recognized flowers, spanning across many biomes, and with the new 1.20 update, there's the addition of the torch flower. Some of these flowers are harder to obtain than others, involving spawning the wither or bringing back an extinct creature. So I decided it would be fun to do Run of Hardcore where I collected every single flower in the game, while diving into the background of these plants. So let's get started. I spawned into a desolate, icy biome and knew off the bat that this wasn't going to work. The snowy area wasn't exactly giving off majestic garden vibes, so I started to wander, but on my way, I picked up the poppy and the dandelion. The first two flowers ever added to Minecraft were the dandelion and the rose, which was later changed to the poppy in 1.7, and the rose was upgraded to a taller bush. Including this change, poppies have gone through a total of 4 texture changes in the game. Dandelions were also given some functionality, as you can use them to breed rabbits. Just over the snowy hills was a pretty field. It was relatively flat and I liked the area, so I decided that this would be where I would build my home and garden. As excited as I was though, there was one big problem. I was starving. I normally go the farmer's route of Minecraft, but on this day I had no choice but to have a little bit of steak. There was a small cave nearby that had some iron and coal, so I grabbed that first so I could properly cook my beef. I used my small amount of iron to make some shears so I could get wool from my bed, but as I was shearing this sheep, I nearly fell into this huge hole, and it was a good reminder for myself that I would need to be a little bit more careful. Also, on that day, I managed to get the cornflower, azure blue, and the daisy, making it so I was nearly 1/3 through my flower collecting journey on the first day. Bluets and daisies were added in the 1.17 update, which also brought about the most flowers. Meanwhile, the cornflower was added in 1.14. While I don't have many fun facts about these guys, I did learn that in real life, azure bluets are sometimes referred to as Quaker ladies, and they're actually edible, so they're often used as garnishes. Also, Mojang, when are you going to allow me to eat the flower? Feeling rested, the next day, I finished exploring the cave from the previous day to gather materials for some better tools. And not wanting to slaughter any more cows, I lured some chickens into a pen. Little did I know this would save me later. I also started up a small little garden with the intention of living off of pumpkin pie. However, with the caves explored and empty and me still needing more materials, I began to tunnel down. I forgot how sparse the Caves and Cliffs update made coal, and I'm not gonna lie, it hurt a bit. But I managed with some charcoal and eventually had a nice stairway down. At this point, I was only focused on mining. Yes, I had flowers to collect, but it would be pointless if I died in the process. I even went so far as to jump down that giant cavern near my house for the smallest amount of iron and coal. Only once I felt more secure in my tools and my ability to protect myself did I begin to clear the land around me. Landscaping is so mindless to me at this point. I'm pretty sure I was listening to an audiobook or something while I just chipped away at the dirt with my sad stone shovel. Do you guys listen to stuff while you game? Curious to know if I got any other multitaskers in the audience. Now that I had more flat space, I decided it was time to build my house. I'm not sure why, maybe because I've been into fantasy recently, but I was really feeling a nice wizard tower at this point. So I did what I do best in Minecraft, make a circle. Starting off with a deep slate base, I transitioned into cobblestone. I'll be honest, I didn't have the intention of this being some grand build because I find a lot of beauty in simplicity, but it did end up being a lot bigger than I expected and taking way too long to build. As a creative mostly player, I get very impatient in survival and hardcore, which just makes me respect those who do large build and survival so much more. While this very satisfying time-lapse plays, I would like to tell you about my Patreon. My YouTube videos unfortunately take a lot of time to produce between everything else I have to do. So by supporting my Patreon, it allows me to keep doing what I love. In return, I offer all kinds of content, both in the Minecraft area of things and art and story-wise. So if that interests you, there is a free trial to start. I will see you there. I went on to add some floors to my wizard tower, although I'll be honest, I only really did stuff in the top floor because we all know the top floor is the coolest. I moved my chests up, and after reevaluating my goods, I was like, oh wow, I really need to get better gear. So I went back down to the mines. And this time I found my first diamonds. And yes, that is a diamond pick. I just have a mushroom texture pack because I am that guy. But I still needed more, so I kept mining and didn't find anything. Oh my gosh, it felt impossible to find diamonds. I decided to take a break from that and go on my own adventure of searching for flowers. That was sort of the main goal after all, and the first flower I found was a lily of the valley. When these were added in Minecraft 1.14, they immediately became one of my favorite flowers. Lily of the Valley is used to symbolize a lot of good things, but I always associate them with Animal Crossing. Because Animal Crossing New Leaf, the only way you could get them is if your town was environmentally perfect. They are also the first and only flowers to make white dye in Minecraft. Getting 15 of these guys set me in a good mood for this little outing, and I jumped with joy as I skipped through the forest. And I found my next flower, peonies. My fun fact for these guys is that when Jeb first teased the flower in 2013, it was originally only a block tall, much different than what we have today. While these are not my favorite flowers, they are my favorite to paint. I spotted a village in the distance and ran to it to loot whatever it had, which turned out to be mostly seeds and other crops from Farmer's Delight. Speaking of Farmer's Delight, I managed to find some wild onions, which supplied me with my alliums? Aluminums? I always want to call them aluminums, but I know that they're alliums. For those that were hoping with a vanilla only challenge, fret not, I did find these in a completely vanilla way later, just for you. I do have to give Farmer's Delight some points for accuracy though. Aluminums, I give up, are actually a group of flowers that encompasses chives, shallots, and you guessed it, onions. The more you know. My next great find was the lilacs. I have no good commentary on this one other than these are probably the best smelling flowers. Once I finished collecting these though, it was getting a bit late and I needed to sleep. I had a bed on me, but I also managed to find another village, so I had a sleepover with the villagers. Later on, I spotted the smallest section of swamp and got super excited for orchids, but unfortunately there were none there. But as I kept wandering forward, I did eventually find a large swamp with plenty of orchids. These are and have always been my favorite flower in Minecraft. As you might know, blue orchids are a particular color to note, as orchids can come in all shapes and sizes, but most blue orchids you'll encounter are dyed. There are true blue orchids, except they're pretty rare. After some research, I found the blue lady orchid, which is indigenous to Australia, and sure enough, it grows in swampy areas. The last flower I found this time was the rose bushes. I mentioned earlier that while roses have been in Minecraft since the alpha, these were only added in 1.7. With all these flowers, this journey was pretty productive, but my inventory was very full, so I decided it was best to head home. When I got home, I made a separate chest for all my flowers to try to keep track of the ones I had and the ones I didn't. With an empty inventory, a boat, and some food, I headed out again to see if I could find a flower forest biome, which I knew would check off a lot of the flowers I was looking for. On my way, I found this pillager tower and, of course, ended them, and was a bit sad that there was no allay, but I let the iron golem out at least. I continued on for a very long time, and even found another ice biome where I think I was just going crazy at this point from the challenge that I was just flinging myself around on the ice. As night crept on me though, I realized I did not bring a bed, so I spent the night sailing the cold ocean alone. But it was totally worth it. When the sun rose the next day, I found a sunflower field. My fun fact for these guys is that sunflowers are technically the only flowers to have their own dedicated biome. And even better, as I jumped around collecting these flowers, I realized that just across the water was a flower forest. I felt ecstatic. Orange tulips, red tulips, pink tulips, white tulips, tulips of every kind. It was amazing. Tulips were also added in 1.17 with the addition of the flower forest biome. One thing I will say I didn't know about tulips until researching for this video is that in the Dutch Golden Age, tulips were so sought after that it caused a big inflation on the price of tulip bulbs to extreme amounts before abruptly crashing. This was called tulip mania of all things. There's a lot more to it, of course, but it's definitely something to think about next time your mom gives you a tulip bulb for a spring holiday. Anyways, this set me up to have every flower I needed in 1.19 except for one. Now, this might be kind of embarrassing to admit, but I rarely play Minecraft in survival, let alone hardcore, and I've never really fought the Wither in hardcore either. There was something kind of daunting about the idea that I could lose all of my progress over a flower, so I set my worries aside and focused on gearing myself up. To me this meant mining, but also building an enchantment table. I spent the next few days wandering the area around my house getting leather and searching for sugarcane. Every time I thought I collected enough though, I needed more. When I did finally have a full enchanting table, I took the gamble to enchant my pick and it didn't pay off. So I enchanted another one and sure enough got fortune. By combining these in the anvil, I got the pickaxe I needed if I was going to get copious amounts of diamonds. So yeah, I cranked up my music and went to town for a few hours just tunneling away. I don't know what it is about the Mario Kart soundtrack, but I swear it puts me in a trance and I could mine for several days. With a lot more iron, I also struck up an idea to help with my eventual flower garden, botany pots. Botany pots will forever be one of my favorite Minecraft mods, to be honest. I love it, and while the hopper pots are a bit expensive, they are worth it. I spent a long time gathering clay and iron so I could build a room full of these pots so that I could grow and harvest more of the basic flowers from my garden. And with that, it was time to build. The wizard tower had grown on me a lot, and I knew that I wanted to make it the centerpiece of my garden. As a result, I wanted to go for something circular and organic in shape. I spent some time clearing away the dirt before starting on the circular garden beds that would sit against my house like puzzle pieces. I was very precise about these circles, and as a result, spent a very long time making sure that each of these components lined up exactly how I wanted. Without the ability to just fly up and see how it looked from a distance, it was a lot of counting and double checking and still making mistakes. Shout out to my dog though, little guy kept me company while I built this. As I kept expanding, I had to relocate some animals and chop down a lot of trees, but eventually I had the first 2 layers of my garden bed sorted out. I decided to make the one closest to the tower 2 blocks high for some nice layering. After filling in the dirt, I wanted to add some more stone detail, so I did these cute little stone archways. I started to create a path in between, but I realized I hadn't enchanted my shovel yet, so I took a small mining break to get enough levels to enchant it. With a much better shovel, creating these paths of gravel, cobblestone, and tuft was a breeze, and it gave the garden a very regal, organized look. I added lanterns and some leaves for hedges to further that aesthetic. And now it was time to add my flowers. I started with the tall flowers first, the peonies, lilac, sunflowers, roses. Then I went on to my shorter flowers, making sure to add a nice section for each of them until I had all 16 flowers displayed in my garden. Now I could no longer put it off. I was missing the wither rose and it was time to get it. I knew I was going to need a good sword with looting to get those skulls, so I went back down and mined until I was a couple levels above 30. Unfortunately, as I enchanted my sword, I was not able to get full looting, but I at least got some variation of it. I built another portal right at the end of one of my garden paths and made my journey into the nether. And dude, why do I always spawn in these basalt areas? I swear, the nether generation tool hates me. So I built my way out of the biome, and when I did get to the regular ye old nether, there was not a fortress in sight, and I had a gut feeling it was going to take a while to find one. On the way though, I could at least mine some quartz for some additional levels. An hour later, I did find one, and much to my surprise, there was already some wither skeletons waiting for me. I think I still had that little kid impression of these things because I swear I remember them being a lot tougher than they are now. But anyways, I walked around the nether fortress for about an hour trying to get wither skulls. I swear though, I'd walk around for like 10 minutes and there would be nothing, and then I would turn a corner and there'd be like 5 of them. A stack of bones later, I had my 3 skulls, and I could finally leave this desolate place. There was one last thing I needed before I could fight the wither though, and that was a sacrifice. Most people use chickens because it's easy to spawn a bunch of them by throwing eggs, and I liked that idea, so I moved my chickens into a new area where I could automatically collect their eggs. Meanwhile, I felt like my garden was still missing something, and that was layers. I added another layer of paths and started to create these round mini gardens. I knew I had 16 regular Minecraft flowers, so I created 4 on each section. I ended up really liking this because it gave each individual flower its own place to shine while also remaining thematic to what I built originally. As I admired my garden though, there was no more delaying it. I had to fight the wither. By now my chickens had laid plenty of eggs, and I took them with me as I went underground. I set up a small room spawning 5 chickens before preparing to spawn the wither. As soon as he spawned, I had no clue whether or not the chickens had actually been turned to roses or not. I just knew I had to fight this guy without dying, or it wouldn't matter anyways. I made sure that I focused on keeping myself fed and healing, and when I finally slayed the wither, I will not lie, I was feeling pretty great. And I was feeling even better when I realized that the chickens did successfully become 5 wither roses. I had collected all of the flowers in Minecraft 1.19, and now all I need to do was place a wither rose in my garden. But with my nether star, there was still one last thing I wanted to do, and I'm not sure why, but I did make a small beacon. Mostly because I had no clue what to do with all these diamonds, but as soon as I did that, I climbed to the top of my tower, and I mean the top, as there was only one place it felt right to put my wither rose, in the center of my garden at the highest point. And there I was, done. Every flower in my garden. I was very happy. Or not. So I know what you're thinking. Sniff, we're in 1.20 right now. At least we should be by the time this video is out. So what about the torch flower? Alright. I loaded up my world in the latest snapshot and set out to get the torch flower. The torch flower is obtained by finding a sniffer egg first, raising it, and then having it search for Asian seeds. So the first thing I need to do was obtain the sniffer egg. This was actually my first time interacting with these silly guys in survival, so I was really excited, until I found out that you can only find their eggs in warm oceans. Little did I know, this would cause great pain and suffering as I sailed through the Minecraft ocean for thousands of blocks. Cold ocean. I swear this world was only cold ocean. I wanted to cry, but I remembered that I had to keep going. I had to keep going for the sniffer. How could I not? My name is literally Sniffer-ish. Which, not to flex, but I'd like to point out how funny it is that when they released the candidates for the mob vote, we started an entire joke on Twitter that they put me in Minecraft. But that just furthers the point. These are my kin. So I kept up the sailing and soon enough found a lukewarm ocean. Now I wasn't sure if these counted, but I thought it was worth a try. The next step was to search any structures in the area for suspicious sand. The first few times I got really excited and then was promptly disappointed. I had pretty much cleared out the ruin when I noticed another more buried one at the edge of the lukewarm ocean. Sure enough, as I brushed the last suspicious sand, I found a sniffer egg. This thing is literally my child. I sailed home with my new kiddo and placed him down to hatch. Now this process takes about 20 minutes, so I started to make a wide pen for him so that when he was all grown up, he could do his sniffing. When he did hatch, I think I just internally exploded because this guy is so cute. They grow up so fast. I herded him into a pen, but it would be a little while before he grew up, so I mostly just dilly-dallied and made some space for other animals. When he did grow up though, I was shocked at how big this guy was. Look at him. The first time he did his sniffing, he gave me a pitcher pod, which is like, okay, cool. But the next time, he gave me torch flower seeds. Torch flowers are used to breed sniffers and are actually based off of a real flower, so yeah, that's cool. I bone mealed my torch flower seed because I'm impatient, and I finally had my last flower. I decided to make a hanging planter for it at the main entrance of my garden, and I think it looks adorable. So yeah, now we're actually done. Every flower in Minecraft. If you guys made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I appreciate you. This video took a really long time to produce. Obviously, I haven't posted in 3 months, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was research and a lot of filming, and you know, I had all these replay bits, and I'm not sure how I like it. I don't know. What do you guys could tell me, give me some feedback. But like I mentioned earlier in the video, consider subscribing to my Patreon, and otherwise, have a good day.